It's cold.
I'm not going to say the line because you all have already said it.
What, it's cold? No, it's Friday.
What do I say every single
It's
time?
Friday.
No, there's another line.
Well?
Freaking freezing in here, Mr. Bigglesworth.
Oh.
And it really is.
Yeah, the cat's trying to get warm off of me.
Please be aware, I was just eating a jujube, so I'm a little incapacitated right now.
You're incapacitated?
Uh-oh.
She's leaving.
Oh, she's out of here.
Yeah, she's like, screw you guys.
You guys suck. Suck. Hey, you want to do a wrist check?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we're going to do a wrist check. Oh, that's so nice. Mm-hmm. You're wearing that Omega. Oh, that beautiful gold Stardust dial.
Well, I mean, this is the worst lighting ever.
Yeah, but you can see it. There it is there. This thing's really cool. I think that's a 505 or 550 automatic. I'm still amazed that people are sleeping on Omega. You're probably going to have to rotate that. And I'm wearing this. It's not really that yellow. This light is terrible.
Yeah, it's really bad lighting.
Really bad lighting. Anyway, this is that's my great uncle's Rolex Explorer 1016. I got this, I don't know, 20 or 30 years after he went into a pool and the crown seal was bad and the watch filled with water. And he just threw it into a drawer and left it. And it came to me after his passing. I restored it. People said it couldn't be done, but I did it. Don't ask me what it cost. But anyway, that's what I'm wearing.
Okay. So now I guess we're getting into watch stuff.
Okay.
So maybe you will.
So now this is the start of more watch questions.
The Pulsar 6309 Y514 6009 Red Mech 80. I love the idea of wearing a nice automatic watch or even a nice quartz as an everyday watch. I am a heavy equipment mechanic that does quite a bit of welding, and I try to protect my G-Shock while grinding and welding, and it still catches a lot of damage that I can't bring myself to put a nice watch up against. Wow.
Wow, really?
That's crazy that you can actually kind of sort of damage your G-Shock.
I'd be curious to see what it looks like. Is it still legible? I'm assuming it's still working, otherwise you wouldn't be wearing it. I don't know. In the old days, I mean, it always seems to me to be the case. Those old guys, they just wore their stuff until it died. I don't know why they did, but you see the stuff. I see a lot of these old watches, more so like a decade ago when those guys were really, dying off. But they would just wear them and wear them and wear them.
So
and
even while being a machinist, they would wear them?
Oh no, there was one. It was a Yachtman, a UFO 6138 0011. The guy had bought his. He had bought it. It had the most rare bracelet, by the way. He bought it on board a ship. He was in the Navy. And almost immediately after that, he had to go and deal with like anchor chains. And they were greasing up anchor chains or something, like heavy industrial naval grease. And that was in, 1970 something. He shipped it here to get it restored. The bracelet was packed with the stuff. It was still packed, like on the outside. It was amazing. He had just worn the thing for like a decade like that. It took me... Oh my gosh, it took so much to get that thing clean. Because that particular bracelet, it's a big president, like a big link president, but the links in the middle are hollow. But they're like a clamshell of stainless steel, so they look solid. They're hollow in the middle. And not only that, they don't have regular bracelet pins. They have specific internal spring bars. A total pain in the ass to deal with. That it was like 8 attempts at degreasing that thing. I got it. In the end, I did it.
For RS Seiko 7002, 7001. From Donnie DeMarco 3963. Is that the same case as the SKX007?
Annoyingly, no. There was the first gen 7002s. They were built just like a 6309. So they were bidirectional, 32 millimeter crown, 32 millimeter crystal crown at 4. They then went to simultaneously with the other one, they made the 7002 7039, so-called transitional, which was made to adhere to the brand new ISO standards at that time, or not COSC, ISO standards for divers, which was like unidirectional bezel, 31.5 crystal, and crown at 4. Well, when they stopped making the 7002s, they said, well, we want to save some money and not have to make 2 sets of date wheels and day wheels, because you can't offset from 3 to 4. You can offset from 3 to 345 and be able to reuse both. So that's what they did. So it was a cost-saving measure. I believe, I can't think of any other reason besides just basic standardization. But so what's a killer is that you can take a 7002 transition case and you can take everything from an SKX and you can put it on that case, but the crown's going to be wrong, so the whole dial is going to be cranked over. It's a bummer. It's a bummer because I have everything to make an NOS SKX 007. I have everything except a case. And I was digging through my crap, and I was like, yes, there's a bag, diver stuff. Let me look at them and think, yes, I think I got SKX cases. 7002s, every one.
Well, gosh darn it.
Yep, I know, it's a cruel world.
My bench clock died.
Junghans
J30BZ cockpit chronograph. MK2 Brett, what do you do for precautions when disassembling a radium dial hands like this?
I try to never do it. Those M95 mask, N95 mask, safety squints, or I could wear my visor probably. I don't know. I actually haven't done anything more with that clock, specifically because I've actually been concerned about that. So something that I forgot to do, I remember today, which is that I'm going to get a little toy Geiger counter. And I want to bring that in. And I mean, at this point, who knows how many, fat lines of radium I've done. But, or tritium, let's say tritium, which is much less dangerous, but still it's like, active, but they're not like the deadly ones. They can't make it through like a piece of paper.
Yeah, I didn't get around to finishing the book about the radium girls, the watch ladies that painted dials in the early 20th century, but
the ones whose jaws melted off?
Yeah, but before that, they literally would glow at night.
Wow.
So that's how you could tell who worked at the watch factory.
That's some creepy stuff. I don't know. This stuff has a long life. I don't always. I've told this story one time, Spencer. You've told this story. There was a British bomber that crashed onto a frozen lake in Norway in World War II. The flight crew was interned by Norway because they were neutral, and the bomber fell through the ice when the ice started getting punky, and that was the end of it. Very deep, very cold lake. Well, there were a lot of village stories about it, and eventually in the late 80s, I think, divers got permission to go and look at it. They were going to pull it out for the museum. So they're down at the bottom of this freshwater lake, and it is pitch black down there, and they're going next to there's the cockpit, and they said they could see the instruments glowing.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like this little faint ghostly green glow from the cockpit from those instruments.
Crazy.
That is crazy. It's a really old article that was already old when I found it on the internet a long time ago.
Idle time. I've been in the hobby for about 4 years now. Anywho, I stop at a local thrift store and I'm perusing the watches, but my girlfriend is in a hurry, so I gotta go. But before I do, I'm trying to do some quick research on a nice working watch I found. They wanted $6.50 for, so I grabbed some...
$650?
$6.50.
$6.50.
So I grabbed some quick pictures of it, and I figure I'd do some more research when we got over to my mom's place a few blocks away. It turned out to be a $900 Junghans Carbon series from Germany, but I wasn't familiar with the name, so I didn't put two and two together at the time. We stopped by there after we left my mom's place a little over an hour later, and unfortunately by then it was long gone. That is not surprising.
That is not surprising. Very sad, though.
Yeah.
The only cool watch we ever found at the thrift store she found.
it was a calculator watch.
It was a Casio DB300, the Databank 300, black high impact fiber plastic with a rubber with a tapered rubber strap. But it was a calculator, but it also had 300 slots for names and numbers. We found it in the thrift store, got it home, put a battery in it. All the stuff was still in there. Still is, actually.
It's funny.
I put a new battery in it. I haven't looked up how to change the time yet. That's why it's not set to the right time.
Oh, okay. Nielsen Gupta, hi SNS, love your Junghans chronograph.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing the full restoration. Couple of questions for next mail call. Why are Bellmatics so unpopular?
They haven't caught the popular imagination. They're very conservative or incredibly weird. They're beautiful movements. They're gorgeous movements. They're one of the most beautiful movements that I work on. They're so elegantly made. Seiko put everything they could into them. They are nothing but a pile. Well, no, they are partially a pile of levers and springs. There's like levers and springs all through the thing. Ever look up a picture of the keyless works of a Bellmatic? It looks like you're looking under the hood of some sports car covered with tubes. They just haven't caught the popular imagination. There's like a 6309. It looks like a 6309. 6105, it's bright, contrast, you can see it. Those Bellmatics were like supposed to be sort of executive watches. They're just really conservative. And then when they decided to make something neat out of them, they just went nuts. There's some of them, they're weird, but they're beautiful watches. And one thing I do find, when in the rare occasions I wear a Bellmatic, I actually find that the time alarm thing actually comes in handy a fair amount. It's weird.
6139s need their chronograph running. Is there a similar rule with the alarm for Bellmatics? Should I keep the alarm on daily or off, or does it not matter at all?
Doesn't make any bit difference. I mean, you can run it if you want, but it was not designed to run constantly. But they are robustly built. They are the lever, the bell, the clapper lever. That is very sturdily built. It has big pivots on it. And the pivots have bushings, which is probably smart, because if you were having that kind of impact on jewels, you'd probably end up cracking them. But they are like a 27 jewel Bellmatic. That's a movement. Like whoa, that's a movement. And they should be putting something else.
Guess what's on my playlist?
Like whoa. I mean, if I was a thinking person, you'd buy as many Bellmatics as you possibly can and find a way to recase them, because it's a fantastic movement.
Keeping the chronograph running or not, Seiko 6139, 6138. Mel Lucy, I think that's whatever. I have a bullhead 6138 0040 that was recently serviced. I wanted to ask you, if I wear it every day and keep the chrono always running, how long will it take before all the oils run out and I need to service it back? Oils and gears will consume faster if the chrono always runs?
No, well, that's not what gets rid of the
I thought that if you have it running all the time, then, if you don't, then it gunks up.
Well, machines want to run, in my view. You take a car that's been sitting for a couple of years, it's gonna be less likely to really be happy about waking up. Machines want to run. I could always tell back in the day with my Vespas, my scooters, if I left one for too long, they just were weird. But then if I had one that was had been neglected and I got it going, you ride those things for a good amount of time, it'll clear out and they get better. What goes wrong with the lubricants is that over time the volatiles will outgas, and it's just the way it is. The volatiles outgas, and then with the old natural oils and stuff, it would leave behind shellac and it would glue the movement together. Modern oils, they just vaporize away. They might let the only thing they might keep there is any kind of debris on the inside of the movement, like dust or anything else like that, and it will get in there. But those are the things, wearing it constantly versus having it on a watch winder versus wearing it once a month, isn't really going to make that much of a difference on the lubrication, but you just don't want to. I think there's more harm caused by just sitting there not having it run, but one or the other isn't going to really make a difference. Unless, though, being on a wrist increases the internal temperature, which would increase volatility, assuming, because even in an atmosphere that tiny, if it's sealed, that still would be enough. Though I have opened original Seikos that have never been opened before, and I have found lubrication in them. Not often, but I've seen it. So I don't know how much outgassing space there is inside the body of a watch. So, mathologists, now is your time.
For CJ, Seiko 6139 6005 restoration. Neil Shapiro. Hello, Spencer. I recall you once commented on T marking versus R marking on 6139 Pogues. However, I cannot find that video to review. Please, can you indicate what the details of that was, or let me know which video that was?
They just, in my understanding, all those digits, they just talked about the two different variants of the dial. R in this case was chronograph automatic, with no Suis symbol. I'm sorry, no 17 joules or 21 joules, no 17 joules, but then just the Suis symbol, and that's it. R was world, and T was like the true Pogue and stuff like that. There's no reason that T goes with true Pogue, but maybe that's a good way to think about it. Now, that said, I've never gotten that much up on dial codes. I think about the casing codes and movement codes in the back. Those numbers.
The encyclopedia has an empty section.
No, it's the numbers and letters. I don't memorize them. I can visually identify the dials instantly. Mm-hmm. Well, some of them, I hope I can. But anyway, but I don't encounter or work with them enough that I've been required to memorize that information. For those of you who don't know, or anybody who cares, thanks to the way I'm wired, I can't take notes. I just, if I try to take notes, I start thinking about how I'm taking the notes, and then I forget the thing that I'm trying to take the note about, and then everything's a mess, and so it just doesn't work. So everything is in my head.
The Seiko 6138 7000 slide rule chronograph, real versus fake side by side. Warren Murchie 6599. I have a UFO that I bought about a year ago. I knew it was an original because it has an orange hand on the hour register. Also, the dial crystal and bezel were all like new. The case had a few scratches, so it has a lived-in look. The problem I have with it is that I found that the sub-dial hands and the chrono hands were not resetting to 0. One day, the hour register hand actually fell off. I always thought that the reset button took a bit too much force to activate and thought it may have caused the problem, but I uncased the watch a couple of weeks ago and found that the hands are just not a snug enough fit, and what was happening was that when you reset, the hands move around on the shafts. What is the best way to tighten those hands?
Okay, so on the hands, well, first on the buttons, on the pressure to set and reset, the two buttons should require the same amount of force. Reset on a 6138 sometimes can be a little heavier set because they've got to reset the 12-hour, but I myself set that reset snap thing pretty light. So sometimes I press it in and I'm not getting that whack where all the hands come up like this. It might drag a little bit if I'm not pressing hard enough. It's a lot more gentle to the movement, I think. I probably shouldn't have it that light, but if it's significantly noticeably harder, that can definitely damage the movement. The thing you're talking about with the hands, yeah, the hand tubes, they're just very, very, very thin aluminum tubes, and so yeah, if they're taken off a lot, they'll stretch. Especially if somebody initially had seated them really hard, it'll push apart. Typically with those, what I do, I have it's almost like doing a cannon pinion, sort of. You just basically if you have the tube, and I have a set of pliers basically, but they're very specific, not pliers, tweezers, very specific tweezers that are basically kind of like they're hollowed out in the middle. If you're like looking at the ends of the tweezers, right? They have a space in there. So what I try to do is I go onto it vertically and I kind of move it around. I have the hand stuck to some Rotico and I try to basically squish the tube of the hand back in. And I'll try that. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it works. Sometimes, I mean, even if I'm not suggesting this, but basically you get it to close in enough some way, it'll grip. There are other things. I mean, you could use just an absolute infinitesimally small amount of gel type super glue. I'm talking like a fly speck, like tiny amount, just enough. It'll sit in there and it'll hold it. I only have ever done that for hands that are extremely rare, that basically I couldn't find a replacement, and there were basically the only way to make the watch work is I had to use the original hand. I had to. There were no options. And I believe in the case I'm thinking about now, the hand tube was actually split, which is deadly because it can't hold the shaft. It just can't. So in that case, but that gel super glue, it's good for a number of things. Like you can, if you're rebuilding a dial and you pull all the markers and everything, when you're reattaching that stuff to the dial, gel super glue on those posts underneath is perfect. It sucks in, but it doesn't go onto the dial. It dries very quickly. It's a great thing, but in case of hands, that's kind of an emergency thing.
That's it.
Well,
I'm like over here freezing.
yeah, I know. It's cold. It's cold. It's cold. It's cold. I don't know what else we're going to do. Nothing really going on this weekend I can think of. Nope. Okay, folks. Well, thank you for watching. I hope that was entertaining. And I'll talk to you on the flip side. Okay. And we're back.
He's having me make a playlist of all the songs that are always in my head 24/7, but not really 24/7. Like, it's always like there, like it's ready to come up, and I had to make 2 playlists because my first one was too long.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I'm looking forward to seeing it. How are you going to pull it off? Are you gonna reorganize them?
No,
by type?
I'm just putting them in as I remember them, and we're gonna listen to them on shuffle, and you're gonna hear so much early 2000s rap.
I just realized I was sniffing at them.
Oh, oops.
Wait, so are you putting songs on there you don't like?
Yes.
I try not to remember songs
and embarrassing songs. They're always in my head.
Well,
like "End Together Now" by Limp Bizkit.
See, one of the advantages is being older is things that are always in my head are things like the Hotel California solos.
Well, yeah, those are in my head too.
All the time. There's other ones. ELO, Thunder and Lightning. Like I told you, whenever it's summer and you see that crack, I can always hear the beginning of that song. Well then. You wanna get on the road, Rover Queen?
Rover Queen.
I don't know why I said that. Rover Queen, I'll own it.
Okay.
Sorry for the sniff.
So, I guess let's start.
Oh, I was making that face because a notification from Sadie came up, and I was trying to read it.
Oh, it was. She sent it to the group chat.
I saw.
It was a picture or something. No, it was a Reels. Anyway, everybody's favorite video: how to wind a Seiko automatic.
It's the one that started it all. My fame is founded on that. What is it? 19-second video I made for somebody on the watch board. I think, just to show them what I don't remember why I made it, but I don't know why people keep finding it.
Anyway,
I don't know why people keep disagreeing with me.
I don't know. Rage to be, this isn't actually the best way. The best way is to hold it in your hand face up and swing it from side to side for 5 to 10 minutes if it has... Is that what he was doing?
No, I had it, I hold, when I'm doing...
Oh! What?
I don't know where you're going with this.
Well, because 5 to 10 minutes? That's kind of excessive.
Oh, no, it's more than kind of excessive. You can do that, but it's not necessary. The actual Seiko manual says it has the instructions. So you see the watch, and it says basically you're holding it flat and you're moving it like this, just enough basically to get it going, unless you like it as a fidget toy. But you get it up to the point that it's running, you set it correctly, you strap it on, and off you go. That's the way it's supposed to be. Dial up and dial down make no difference. If it makes a difference, dial up and dial down for how the weight works, there's something wrong with the automatic winding system, because they're not supposed to deviate.
Okay.
But you can do whatever you want, man. If you want to spend five... Can somebody explain to me, by the way, why this video still pops up? Because literally I don't understand it.
Anyway, he also said, P.S. I have a Pogue Feb 72 in all original condition. I swear a lot of watch, and it's always best to give it a full charge, but even better to use a watch winder, and then the movement doesn't just sit around, oh no, I don't want to go over this again.
I will say, very short statement, I'm not a fan of watch winders.
Good. I'm glad we left it at that. Okay, from what? No, you're not going to leave it at that.
No, I'm going to try. I'm going to do my best.
Okay, from last mail call, Jack Zuliani 9478. Hey SNS, I have a question for a future mail call. I bought a 7548 about 6 months ago, which I love and wear daily, but the only thing that bugs me is that since owning it, the loom has gone from white to an ugly dark gray. I believe this is from UV and not to do with moisture, as I had the seals replaced when I bought it. I've been told that this is an unfixable, but my question is it a common problem? If I buy another one, is it likely to happen again if I use it as a daily watch? Thanks in advance.
Well, okay, what you're talking about is believe me, I know it well. I've seen it happen every time I think about that 6139. My San Francisco snow white loom in the morning, and by the mid-afternoon it had gone gray. That watch, that was heartbreaking. It's not UV, it's moisture. UV might make it go faster because if the glass acts as a greenhouse, because it's speeding up a process. If your seals were just replaced, I might go to someplace else and see if they'll pressure test it for you, because if one of those watches has all new brand new seals, that shouldn't happen unless the internal atmosphere, like if it was the seals were changed and you were like in Singapore during like monsoon season, where it's you have to keep your watches in dehumidifiers. Otherwise, it's like living in, the air version of a hot tub.
Oh.
So I'm given to understand. So it's not, so the grayed out loom, that can happen very quickly. It's a chemical reaction with the original Seiko loom. It just takes moisture, heat helps. But I would say those seals need to be checked. It is fixable. Yes, it is fixable. I feel bad because I have a process that will clean that loom. It's proprietary, it's mine, nobody else uses it because nobody else knows about it, but it is fixable. So I don't know really where to go from that except to say not all hope is lost. But yeah.
And we need a chemist.
We need a chemist.
If you are a chemist, like an actual chemist, like Walter White chemist, or a grad student, and you want to work with us about making the loom stuff consistent, then that would be cool.
Yeah, the way it works now, my loom cleaning material is, I basically make a new batch every single time. Whenever I need some, I'm like, and I have to go and I have to grab this stuff. I like to make it and use it. I don't really keep it around too much. But I don't really kind of measure stuff. I'm not going in droppers and milliliters, and I should be. So I have to actually go through some testings to standardize it. But you know, in theory, it's possible if it was a standardized formula and it could be packaged in a little dropper, teeny tiny itty bitty dropper, or a little like brush or something, you know, we could probably start moving it. I just, you know, it's just, sometimes honestly, I can't believe it works. I looked for that fix. I obsessed about it for years.
Do you have a
years.
before and after picture that you could put in?
I have a short video on this thing. It's me doing the Pulsar Y1514. I'd have to dig back further. I don't know that I have, because I delete all my old watch things because they're hosted. So I'd have to look for one. It can be done. I usually give a hint about right now, but I don't know that it would help or
Nope.
hurt anyone.
Nope.
No hints?
No hints.
No hints.
Nope. It's ours. Well, his, but we're own the business together.
Yeah, you know, if you're a chemist, let us know. Maybe we can finally get this done, because it could help a lot of watches.
Okay. Salty crabs. I've never thought about xenomorphs, and now I can't unthink about how a xenomorph would eat an ice cream cone.
Well, they don't have tongues.
The,
I mean,
the little one would be like,
I guess so. That means, though, that they'd be eating off like chunks of ice cream. I mean, can xenomorphs get ice cream headaches?
I don't know.
You imagine a xenomorph going, this is awful. It's seriously, it's one of the worst things in the world. I don't know what other people, maybe there are people out there to enjoy it, but I'm not one of them.
Speedy Paul 2314, Predator 2, love Danny Glover. Love the bit when it bursts into the old lady's bathroom. I still haven't seen it. I'm sorry.
I don't actually remember that part. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen that movie in decades. So I'd actually probably be watching like a new movie.
Biff Tannen BTTF. The Bulova Astronaut was actually worn by A-12 and X-15 test pilots. This is what makes them so collectible. Technically, those X-15 pilots crossed the space barrier, which gave the watch the name Astronaut. Originally, it wasn't called the Astronaut, but that was added for the second year of production. They liked the Accutron movement because it dealt with shock weld due to the low inertial qualities of the small movement parts. Also, it dealt with the over 150-degree cockpit temperatures very well.
Well, I stand corrected. And plus, I learned new things. I didn't know that about the X-15 programs or any of that stuff. That's like, you know, that's like Glenn and those guys, I think, you know, and all these crazy test pilots that did all this early stuff. Thank you. I absolutely did not know that. It's very cool to know that. And I always looked at them and I was like, you know, astronaut, thinking, this one doesn't have the chops. But hey, if it went through that program, if I was wrong about that, maybe it's not quite as delicate as I think it is. It didn't occur to me about, it's a very interesting point about inertia, because you're in zero gravity and the parts are really light. I mean, you still have to deal with mass.
I'm not listening. I'm so sorry. I was reading the questions.
Just because something is floating doesn't mean it's not heavy. So that's the thing. So if you have really small parts, they're not heavy, which means that there's a shock. They don't have a bunch of mass that's swinging around that could break something. I think that's what he means.
Okay.
Like if you put Milo in space, he'd be just as fat.
My poor Milo.
I know.
Watch Talking To. Alien vs. Predator is a much better movie than it should be. Yeah, I liked it. Sadie enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, it was, well, I do kind of think about Alien versus Predator more than you'd ever think I would. It kind of comes to mind a fair off, and I wonder why.
I don't know. Maybe because it's the ultimate, like, fight. Like, you finally get the fight between the two things, and you're like, who would win? And, of course, like, nobody wins. Or did Predator win? I don't remember.
No. I believe Predator won, but it's different than, say, you know, Rise of Skywalker, because they're both bad movies, but Alien versus Predator is entertainingly bad. While, you know, Rise of Skywalker, I was shouting incoherently, wasn't
so
I?
Funny.
I couldn't make it through. It was so
You
bad.
know, you watched it.
I know, but I was screaming the whole time.
Yes, and laughing and screaming.
Oh God, those uniforms on that, it's ridiculous. It looked like a music video from like 1985. Oh God.
Anyway.
Knights of Ren.
Okay, as a millennial, I think about the Truman Show at least once a week. Yeah, my wife and I constantly question if we were living in that type of reality. I question that all the time too, and I think about the Truman Show a lot too, so I feel you.
I find it just packed to the gills with existential horror. I try to not think about it because I find it so disturbing. Just the whole concept, because it's so unkind and it's so cruel, and all to torture one person. It's just, I find it intolerable.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's awful. Disguised as a black comedy.
Was it supposed to be?
I don't know what it was supposed to be.
I don't think it was supposed to be a black comedy. I think it was just a drama.
Well, I don't know. Have to look it up.
There was nothing in it that could possibly make you go, ha ha ha, like in the Death to Stalin, there was. That's a black comedy.
I guess so, but I mean, Jim Carrey's character himself was sort of a chipper dude, and he was doing not unfunny things. I mean, he was bouncing around, doing stuff. I don't know. I'm not an expert.
It's okay. The next three are about salve.
Wow, we're not having a real watch-centric mail call.
Well, no, because this one is the mail call from last week.
Right. We had to mash together two mail calls because we haven't been making as many videos, therefore there are fewer comments, which means we're going back 2 weeks, according to her, talking about the pronunciation of the word spelled S-A-L-V-E, salve.
Machinist Mike the Tinkerer 4827, salve. Up here, the L is silent. I don't know where up here is.
Have it the foggiest.
Scarred Hands Review, Velself Skin Ointment. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Sidewalk Astronomy Netherlands. Salve in Dutch is salve. Ointment you put on your skin. Well, I heard it on Ren and Stimpy, and we just rewatched that scene.
That specific clip.
Right, and they say salve except one time. The loudest time is salve. So that's why I thought.
Yeah, they say salve, and I don't like either word. Neither one is pleasant to say, and there's got to be another ointment.
I guess.
Liniment. I just don't like the word.